Today, boys and girls, we're going to be learning about writing. Now, writing in kindergarten might be a little bit different from when you're writing as you're older, okay? So in kindergarten, when you write, that means that you're illustrating a picture. That means you're drawing a picture and you're telling us a story through your picture. So soon enough, you'll be writing a lot of words to talk about that picture. Now, one thing that I want to share that's really important, boys and girls, the writing has to be done by you, not by your moms and dads, not by your older brother and sister. The writing has to be done by you yourself. If you need help, of course, your moms and dads will be able to help you, but the best thing that I want everyone to do is to try your best. And even if you make mistakes, it's okay to make mistakes, because when we're making mistakes, that means that we're going to learn from those mistakes so we don't do it again. Okay? So, actually, let me share our Google Classroom. Hold on one second, because that's where the assignment is. So in our Google Classroom, Ms. Castro posted personal narrative, and I put 1 in parentheses. Now, I'm going to go to the instructions. Let me just very briefly explain to you what the instructions say. So by now, everyone should have their primary composition notebook. That's the notebook that has the white space up at the top and then the lines right underneath it. So that's going to be called our writing journals, okay? So your job, boys and girls, is to think of one moment that you've had. And I know you do so many things with your families over the weekend, but I want you to think of one thing that you've done this weekend. You're going to illustrate that in the top section of the primary composition notebook, and Ms. Castro is going to show you how it's going to get done. You have to make sure that you add details to your illustration, because remember, Ms. Castro was not there with you. I want to be able to be there with you through your picture. So you have to add a lot of detail and show me what's there. Then you have to label your illustration. So when you label, that means that you're putting the first letter of the word that goes to your picture, okay? Then we are going to use the word wall and other resources that Ms. Castro put here, and I'm going to explain to you everything that's here, so that way you can try to write one sentence, okay? So boys and girls, again, this is your work, not your moms and dads, okay? So please make sure that the work is done by you. You have the whole week to work on this, because writing takes time. We're not going to get it done in one day, so we have to do it one at a time. Now, if for some reason you don't find your primary composition notebook, Ms. Castro provided a piece of paper there if you need to print it out. That way you can do your work there. But everyone should have the primary composition notebook, because that was required on the supply list, okay? Now, here are some resources that you can use with your writing. Word wall. A word wall is where you have a wall and you could try to find a space in your house. Look for an empty wall, and you're going to put letters A to Z, and under each letter, we put words that we can use in our writing. So for example, the letter I for insect. We're going to learn about this word I, okay? The letter T for tiger. Down the third word, we're going to learn about that sight word. So all these words are words that you can use in your writing. So you don't have to say, Mom, Dad, how do I write the? How do I write go? How do I write I? You just look at the word wall. You think of the letter that it begins with, and then you go to that letter, and then you look for the word, and then you can write that word by copying it from the word wall, okay? That's why this is here. It's for you to use, okay? Now, let's say you wanted to write some other ideas. For example, I have here ideas such as apples. If you wanted to talk about apples, there's different words about apples that you could use. Animals, Arctic animals, those are the ones that live in the really cold weather. Autumn, which is the season that we're in now. If you're going to talk about pumpkins or scarecrows, or leaves. Those words are there. Now, right now, we're not really going to talk about the beach because it's a little too chilly for the beach, but it's there. Birthdays, those of you who have celebrated birthdays, bugs, and there's so many more ideas that you can take from this. If you've gone to the farm, if you want to talk about your family, there's different people there, and they labeled who that person is. So when you label, boys and girls, that means that you're writing the word for what's in the picture, okay? Then you have these. Eventually, we'll be doing some Halloween writing too, so you can use Halloween words as well. Lunch words, number words. If you go to the park, I'm sure a lot of you will be illustrating about the park probably. You have the pond, school, shapes, space, sports, spring, summer, Thanksgiving, which is going to be next month, Valentine's Day, which is later on down the road, and winter, which is actually right around the corner. Now, boys and girls, if you get stuck for any reason and you're not too sure what to write about, Ms. Castro put some ideas here for you. You could talk about your family, if you have pets, any fun days that you might have had. You could talk about school, playing, hobbies, which are something that you enjoy doing at home, helping out at home maybe, any kind of field trip that you've gone with your families, your friends. And I gave you some other ideas too. Could talk about special places, talk about food, talk about your favorite things, talk about anything here, okay? Talk about yourself or any toys that you want to talk about. So all of these here, these ideas that Ms. Castro put are for you, boys and girls, to use, okay? So what I'm going to show you now is my work, my personal narrative. So a personal narrative is when you talk about yourself, okay? We've done so many things with our families, and this past weekend, Ms. Castro went somewhere special with my family. I went with my daughter and my husband. We actually went to the farm to go pumpkin picking, okay? Now, just because I went to the farm doesn't mean that you went to the farm. Maybe you're going to go to the farm another day, okay? So I don't want you to copy what I did. I want you to think about what you did with your family this weekend, or maybe it could be about a different weekend, okay? So I'm going to show you my writing and how your writing might look like, okay? So if you look here on your screen, I kind of made my own primary composition notebook look like this. So you have the white space on top so you can illustrate. You have the lines right under the white box for you to write your sentence. So you boys and girls were not there at the farm with me. So I have to bring that picture home to you so you can feel like you were at the farm with me. So writing takes time. And like I said before, you have the whole week to work on this. So we're going to take this step by step. I just wanted to show you an example of what the final product is going to look like, okay? So as you can see here, my illustration, that's my picture, my drawing, okay? My illustration shows me, and you can see that's me because I wrote the word me on top of my head. So boys and girls, when you illustrate yourself, you can write the word me because that's a sight word that we're going to be learning here in kindergarten. Me, you're talking about yourself. So here's me, the little girl, that's my daughter. That's why I put the letter D on top of her head. And then I wrote H for my husband. So the three of us went to the farm. We had to walk on grass, and you can see that it's grass because look, I labeled it here with the letter G. We went to go pick pumpkins. Now, I'm not the best illustrator, boys and girls. I really don't know how to draw that well, but I tried my best. So to you, these pumpkins might look like apples, but when I label them with the letter P, I'm describing that it's a pumpkin, okay? At the farm, there were also trees. So I drew a tree and I labeled it with the letter
Hey, what's under?
because T is the first letter in the word tree. Okay, so that's my illustration. And I'm gonna add a little more detail later on to it, so that way you can see how to bring out the picture live to the person that's looking at it, okay?
What's down the grass?
Down at the bottom, Dominic, I explained already that we're standing on grass. That's why I labeled it with the letter G, okay? Now, below my picture, right under my picture, I wrote some words that connect to the idea of my illustration, okay? Look what I wrote. I wrote, I go to the farm, okay? Now, families, I want you to understand that I purposely wrote farm the wrong way because the way children hear a word, they're going to spell out the word with the letters that they hear. So they might not hear the A in farm, which is totally acceptable. So again, I know that you're going to want to fix their work and
Excuse me?
do the work for them. But in reality, we want our kids to do their work on their own. And then later on, we can guide them and help them with whatever mistakes they might have made. Now, boys and girls, remember, your moms and dads are going to be there to help you. But remember, we want you to try to do the work all on your own. And then when it's time to look at the work and try to fix it, then we'll start helping you so that way you know what mistakes you made. That way you don't do it later on. Okay? So this is just the overall idea that I want everyone to see. Tomorrow, I'm going to break it down step by step how you're going to do the writing. Tomorrow, for example, let's start with today, Monday. Think of the idea that you want to illustrate. What's something that you did this weekend with your families? So you got to start thinking about just one of those ideas, because I'm sure you want to write about everything, but we can't write about everything. So you got to think of just one thing that you did with your family. So that's what you're going to do today, boys and girls. Think about one thing that you did with your families this past weekend. Tomorrow, Tuesday, we're going to illustrate that idea. So you're going to start drawing your idea in the white space of your primary composition notebooks. Then Wednesday, we're going to add details and we're going to label that illustration. So we have to add
What's
more.
on top of the tree?
Dominic, I need you to listen and focus on what I'm saying, okay? On Wednesday, we're going to add details and we're going to label our illustration too, okay? Then come Thursday. Thursday is when we're going to look at our illustration and we're going to make sure that all the details are there, all the labeling is there. That way, Thursday, you're going to finish off by writing a few words to match your sentence. And then that's how we do writing, boys and girls. We do it step by step. You take it piece by piece, okay? Now, I know Dominic had a question as to what's on top of the tree. Dominic, if you were paying attention, you got to make sure that when you're illustrating, you have to label. That letter T is a label. It's showing the boys and girls, moms and dads, that letter T is the first letter in the word tree, okay? So that's my example that I wanted to share with you, boys and girls. We'll go more into this tomorrow. So start thinking about what you did over the weekend with your families. That way you can start illustrating that idea in your primary composition notebooks. Okay, boys and girls?